everyone. There's a time or a common misbelief or a belief that seems to be part of quite most people. I'm not talking about the ones that know things on a deeper level. I'm speaking about the ones that are perpetuating, let's call it the populace, or the people that live within this realm. And the belief is that there is some sort of entity or deity that is going to come and, save or make a statement or, beat the enemies down. So I've been thinking about how to present this specific thing that's been on my mind now. And the only way that I can present it is just to call it out for what it is and present it to you in the way that it is the most simplest to understand. This is about beliefs, belief systems in general, and just me just talking about a few things. So basically what I want to say is, if you've thought about religions always require some form of place of worship, a temple or a church or a structure, and through whatever forms are necessary, whether it's a Messiah or an anti-Messiah, a Christ or an antichrist, it doesn't matter. The fact is, there's this belief that's been driving quite radically. Some of them have become radicalized in their belief systems. Of others, we know that they've become more secretive, more covert, and in a way they have become much more powerful in the background. A construct that it requires for people to gather, to do their religious ceremonies, rituals, whatever. The problem with that entire thing is, let me just say this as a disclaimer, that this is not about people believing in religion as something that helps them to be better people or whatever. It's got nothing to do with that. I'm taking a completely objective perspective on the whole subject itself, and my aim is based on the belief itself. In this way, the frequency in terms of belief has been perpetuated quite at length in the existences of the many realms in which we are now finding ourselves, which they call the multiverse, which is actually just another word for fractured verse, fractured kaleidoscope verse, universe. It's not uni anymore, it's multi. And I don't think it's going to get any much more clearer than the way that they've been presenting themselves. Churches or places of worship are set up to always dictate to the person who goes into it to pledge an oath or an agreement of some sort, a contract, if you will. However, if you look at the word church, really, if you dig into the etymology of the word church, it actually means Circe, which is circle or witchcraft. The witch Circe, from Greek interpretations. I'm saying it is what it is right now. What you're observing is essentially, like I said in my last video, I was talking about necromancy, the worship of the dead, or the working with the dead. There's a difference between talking to people who are in spirited form, who have things to say. I would say that is more sort of based on internal conversations with those that feel that they needed to communicate with those that have abilities to hear and see them. Necromancy is more the study and the exploitation at oftentimes of the dead. And so what makes this something that is very disturbing? It's not about the act of faith itself, dictated by whatever direction in which you're going into. It really is about, what do you pledge your consciousness to? What do you pledge your soul towards? Some may say, like they used to say, you need to make sure that you have a coin, and that the coin will be the homage that you pay for the ferryman to take you over the river Styx. I've mentioned this before, and I'll bring it in a little bit more clearer this time. What is the coin? What is the token? And it is your soul. Your soul is the token which you use to pledge for the ferryman to take you over the river Styx, which is the river of death. It's where the gods were separated, and from humans and people and all elements that were alive used to cross that river. Now, if you look at the symbology of the meaning of that word, crossing means to cross out, or to cut off, or to cross over, using the actual cross, that shape, to cross over or bridge, which is also the related to the Northern Cross in the sky. So everything in regards to the circle, which is the Circe, or the church, or the temple, or the place of worship, synagogue, whatever you want to call it, is based on a circular structure where souls are used as tokens to buy into a particular belief system, so that you are then part of that process. And I am digging deeper into this whole dark aspect. And when I say dark, it's got nothing to do with the color, or that it means negative in any way. I'm talking about it as an occult form. When I say I am going into it, I'm saying that there's a reason you need to dig into these things too. You need to find why these things are the way that they do. That is just what I do on my channel. To what do you give your soul to? To what do you pledge your soul to? And now I'm not talking about your spirit, I'm talking about your soul, that which you use to have an interface with in this realm. The process, or the interface, or the user interface for you, your user interface. What do you give? You give that to some sort of allegiance to some belief or religion. The Church of Satan does the same thing. Everything seems to circulate around a church form, which should tell you that aside from the fact that it's to generate, to be tax-free, which is the obvious thing, to have a church, a place of religion, is to be able to be scot-free from tax. But essentially, because we know a little bit more than just the usual information, we know that there is a transaction that takes place. So in terms of a contract that you come to an agreement with, whether you are in the black magic arts, occult, cults, covens, or churches, synagogues, temples, however you want to look at it, it's about the same, with a few exceptions here and there. But there is always one deity or entity that is being worshipped as well. Plus, you're made to believe that you will have contact with this deity, but only through one person or a few. And you're promised that you will be in contact with that entity or that deity once you've passed over, once you've died, once you've left your body. But if you do X, Y, and Z, you could go the other way. You could go to hell. And so, or something, a place of suffering, or bad things happen to you. You know, they say bad things happen to you. You're just made to believe that, yes, okay, you'll agree that it does happen, and you will do this and that. my focus is on the coin which was used, which is the soul, as I've said, to pay the ferryman. The ferryman is that which is a flight of fancy or ideology or belief, because it is a person on a boat and the boat is on water. And the person on the boat is a person in a position which, and the boat is a type of relationship or ship of or fleet of or something that takes over across the water, which is the consciousness, the spirit, the soul, the essence of the subconscious and the conscious. And are you really that convinced that you are in the direction, that you are in the place of where it is even explained in doctrines and books and material of value to those who read it and propagate it, whether it's, again, as I said, journals, diaries, books, scrolls, Bibles, whatever material is available. There's always some sort of mention about needing to pledge an oath to that specific entity, and you never really see it. And so then we obviously cross something that's much more tender, which is about faith. And I've mentioned it as well, called supplication, where you have blind faith in something, much like being blind to certain things, blind to that preacher or pastor or entity that is talking holy words according to your standards, how it makes you feel, of course. If your feathers are feeling fluffed and plumped, you know, if there's that stroking of your consciousness so that you feel better, and then based on, because you feel better, because it feels nice, because it tastes sweet, it must be good. You know, that also happens. The system in which the realm exists. Now that is the system overlay. Many of you have heard me talk about the system overlay. And the system overlay, for those who don't know, is a field, a manipulated, man-made and supernaturally made field that is around the realm in which we exist within. Think of it as an additional cloak of frequency that's added on top of whatever there is. And this field of frequency is related to quite an extensive set of protocols. So it's set in place by certain protocols. And these protocols are based on belief systems with regards to any and everything that which you give your token energy to or focus to. It requires the observer, which is the person, to look at the things so that things become manifested, because that's the intention. That if you look at disastrous things, if you keep exploring artificial intelligence, so they say, but it's pre-programmed sets of algorithms that are just responding to algorithmic input, like what they've done on YouTube. There's no difference. ChatGPT is no different to track you and by your footprint, and then presents to you things that it think that based on your searches will be what you're looking for, because you know you can be pegged into a square, right? So aside from that, the frequency overlay that is over this realm, like I said, it's an addition to what there already was. Back in the day, it would probably have been understood as the firmament, which is that which is beyond the actual natural observation, and above that is this field or frequency that's placed. And this field or frequency requires, like I said, a person to become involved in it, whether there is tech, it's not always tech, it's not always technology. It is also related to what is inside here. It's not always tech, it's not always technology. It is also related to what is inside here. Now, essentially, they who have been perpetuating this field, which I actually say, I don't really want to say they, because I think it's everyone that's been involved in digging into the need to control the populace, that have been presenting fields of interest for people to buy into, to agree to. Starts with the basic belief structure of believing in something. And this is related to religion, for example. I'm essentially addressing the New World religion that is coming to become more obvious, more present, more prevalent, more whatever. And you can throw in every other material condition that is part of it. You can throw Klaus Schwab into it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. It doesn't matter. The fact is, it's all based on religion. And certain religions, if not all, require a ritual in understanding that there is fear of dying. There is fear of doing something that could cause a certain ripple effect in your life. Whether it's pantheistic gods that come to represent every single thing that exists, or whether it's to erase the soul and being told that it's actually your ego, or to give the soul to some entity, God, whatever belief, that it's an invisible entity, but you'll see it when you're dead, and you'll never actually ever see it, because you just go straight in and come straight back. And once there was a very dear friend of mine that had passed away, and we were invited to go to her sort of the church where she wanted to have her ceremony. And when we entered this place of worship, and I'm not going to give the name of it, I saw that there was this big fat worm inside the middle of the building, which was held in place like it looked like the bark of it looked like a tree trunk, but if you looked further up, you could actually see its head was at the top there, and there was a hole at the bottom, so it was sucking in souls that would come into this place. And I was obviously very disturbed by it, that I needed to do my respects and give my commentary and my respects, as I said, and I needed to get out of the building as soon as possible. Those are the things that are created by creating a type of exchange with the soul that enters into that agreement. The same type of thing happens when you are made to believe that you will enter into a place where your ancestors are. As many of them may be wonderful people that you used to know, there may also be culprits. But then it's foretold or mentioned that don't worry, you won't find the evil uncle that molested you as a child. But you don't know exactly. And you enter then into that space of presence of where these people reside. But then what holds them together? Is it love, or is it just the family surname? Is it just because the norm that dictates it so. How many examples? Buddhism is an example of a plural sort of, or multiple levels of hells and heavens. So they believe that their soul becomes erased, if I could use it like that. I'm just going straight down to the narrow part of it. I'm not going into detail. Islamic people believe that their soul, it's not their will is Allah's will or God's will. So they don't even have a will. Christians believe in, I give my soul to thee. To which God? I mean, it's very dangerous to do that, but nonetheless, sadly, bankers and these corporate entities believe in the same thing. There's a transaction that takes place. It's transactional faith, transactional beliefs. And in other words, the more you go through these things, the more you go through all of these religions and you investigate, and you can see basically what really rounds it off is the fact that the soul is at any given point in time like this little token, which is going to be used to either pay it forward or pay for something or give it away, one or the other. And that has been the crux from the beginning of the existence of these of the creations, the plural, before it became closed. I mean, as it became closed, that was what happened. When it was open, it wasn't like so. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the last video that I've made, where I talk about what is an open system and a closed system. And so essentially, giving the soul or using the soul as some sort of collateral bargaining chip is essentially what's at stake. Hence the circular currency that's been coming through, that they've been promoting, pushing, and making it all digital, really is related to creating a digital straw man. The persons that spoke about the straw mans in the first place spoke about it, and then it became completely distorted, the information. And then you get the other opposite side of called the burning man, which is now burning everything away and getting rid of everything, and also creating cults and commercial groupings of people that promote, whatever they believe in. UFO cult, cargo cult, where they go, that's where they create a cult. That's what cargo cult means, essentially. Cult on the move. And so, coming back to the necromancy thing, my point is, I need to explain a few things that I've experienced so that you'll understand why I'm questioning these things. People that believe that they have a lot of control, the Ministry of Magic, which everything resides pretty much in the Blue Lodge or the Illuminists lodges, doesn't matter. They all have to believe in something in order for them to be able to retain their structure. So they then call what it is that they have the secret mystery religion. And that mystery religion is propagating itself within the realms, within this realm in which you exist. Whether it's using a circular currency or whether it's using the soul, essentially everything is about the soul. The soul can be collateral. The soul can be of food. You can be plumped up to be given a lot of things if you pledge to remove certain people out of society by doing various things to those people and then living off of that person's remains so that you can have material gain and control and power over influence and have billions of money inside of your bank and if you do this, this, and that. You don't take any responsibility for the soul that leaves that body form, but that body form is yours to keep. Digging even deeper into that subject, or exhuming it, because this is what we're doing, is we're having an autopsy, right? And which means we have to look at the subject with sober eyes, sober mind, objectivity, and not become emotionally conflicted or distorted in this process. We then discover that that which people believe in, it doesn't matter what it is that they specifically believe in, but it's normally something that is either supernatural, and it is either gigantic, it's much bigger than you. And it comes from a belief system where it was perhaps said that, the world doesn't revolve around you, or it's much bigger than you. They love to say that it's bigger than you. They love to say that. That's another, just a little strike that you shouldn't be digging in deeper. You shouldn't, you know. And essentially, you come into this place where you realize, are you guys all believing in dead things? Because seriously, these things have not really presented themselves, and all you've been doing is throwing your weight around with your money and your power and your abuse and your rituals and whatever, including the ones that are in the Blue Lodge, which is this whole secret little center point, the bullseye between everything, of everything, where they are practicing their secret religion, because the secret occult arena requires for them to have a religion, because then they can qualify their process. I mean, a coven is a religion, not so. There's to be one person who is the representative of another entity. Believing in things like Satan and believing in things like the devil or whatever form, I've come to know, let me tell you one thing here. I've connected with an entity that is called Al-Shaitan. It doesn't like the word Satan. It doesn't like the word Sataniel. It prefers to call itself Al-Shaitan. That is what its name is. And it is a person that has died, that has taken up the mantle to become the great counter of everything, the lawyer, the one that opposes everything. It calls itself the opposer. I've connected with Cain. Cain, the entity, which is an entity, and never was a human to begin with. And I didn't do any dabbly craft nonsense at all. I didn't use any magical incantations or rituals. I asked, I want to speak to the great opposer, this one, that one. All you have to do is really just call them out and they come to you. You don't have to even, kill a chicken. You don't have to do that. And the more I investigated these entities, the more I've noticed that they are people. They were people who lived before, with the very slim exception of actual supernatural entities that don't have or never had a human counter or existence. And if that is what they present themselves to be, for people to hang on to them a cloak so that they could follow the belief, then they feel justified. And it's the same as people who talk about, let me explain this. I'm not hammering religions. I'm not hammering people's beliefs. I'm talking about the belief itself. I'm questioning it. We're having a very open, questioning autopsy on the dead. It is very much like I've said before. There is a movie that has come out, and I'm not promoting movies. The movie is based on the Chronicles of Riddick. That's the title of the name. And the movie talks about a group of aliens that come to their planet, and they're called the Necromongers. And they propose the same thing. Very similarly, you wonder if the person that wrote about religion, or about the secret religions that, or religion that is basically controlling every society up to date to today. I should probably have made this video in October, but anyway. My problem with the whole belief system is the fact that the soul is always under bargaining with regards to beliefs, whether it is alive or dead, whether it is. So it's narrowed itself down to such a point where belief is focused on the material, that which is around you, matter, nature, the nature, physical trees. Go and worship a tree, go and worship this thing or that thing, or something that is dead. You never investigated what it was that you give your soul to. You never investigated your soul. You don't even know who you are. And you give your soul because it says so on the documents that you filled in the form to pledge your soul allegiance to something. And essentially the worship of the entity, it can be anything. It could be Yaldabaoth, it could be Sabaoth, it could be Samael, it could be whatever. You take your pick. There's like 72 names of them in the Solomon's magic grimoires. You can take whatever pick. It's all the same thing. If a person goes into a place of ritual or belief or religion, and this person has become an avid student, or a person that believes in everything that's said, and he's just a very loyal slave, and he dies in that congregation, that spirit of that person that has passed away, he enters into whatever it is that the congregation requires him to be in. He can take on the role of an angel. He can take the role of a demon, or a demigod, or an entity, or it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to tell you is the demiurge is made up of a bunch of souls cluttered together and woven it up together by magical ritual that promotes it to be something like that. In other words, people commonly believe that they need to give themselves to something in order to feel validated in who they are. Whether it is black magicians, or white magicians, they're all the same checkered colors on the board. There's no difference. White magicians and black magicians, they all believe the same in the opposite ways. And what they're doing, what the realm looks like, is the checkerboard. Because whether you believe in some Messiah that's going to come and save you and praise Jesus, or praise Allah, or praise Lucifer, or praise whatever entity, you've never done the homework, you've never done the investigation, and you're so lazy that you want to just hand yourself, a part of yourself, over. And it's because of that this is why there's this additional field of frequency that's been placed upon this realm. I mean, before you know it, it was just suddenly dense, heavy pressure over the realm. Nonetheless, people may believe whatever they believe. I'm not, like I said, I'm not fighting with anyone. I'm not ranting. Maybe a little bit. Maybe I rant a little bit. But I'm not hammering anyone specifically about what they believe in. The fact is, I want to ask you, make sure you investigate what you believe in. What do you believe in? Because if you believe in something, you fall for everything. You should not believe at all. You should believe in nothing. You should not give belief to anything. You must become convinced within yourself. You must become aware of what faith, belief, trust you give to others, entities, frequencies. The fact is, people are obsessed with worshipping the dead, but it's not dead because there's a body lying there. It's dead because it was another person. So people are practicing necromancy. What is it with the fascination of death, unless there's an obsession to really desire death, that the psychology has become so warped that instead of the actual desire to leave a realm of material manifestation, which is controlled by some source, not an original, authentic, not that energy, but some source that is someone's God that is controlling the place. Whether it's an alien or not, it doesn't matter. It's not important because the aliens believe the same thing. There's a drive to want to understand how to get out of this place and how to get into or away from a place that feels there's a lot of pressure and power mixed around. And then there are also the absurdists who bring up cults to worship so that they can feel, banded together, because people tend to want to go to people. People seek people out. People are social creatures. They desire to be in a social construct so that they are feeling either the family unit or they feel the closeness of one commonality or common belief. And these ideas and ideals of believing in something that is essentially dead, dead by way of it was someone else before who died and chose to go into a form of spiritual control, or putting the helmet on so that it becomes another god. The same goes for meeting that demiurge, like I said. It's just a fat, pompous old man sitting there and showed me documents and power and control and cosmology knowledge. What the hell, man? Old man? Really? No. Again, that was and had a root of some person who presented that as a belief. Going there, thinking up stories and creating entities for people to believe in, so people believe in it. This is why I'm not ever wanting to explain. There's people that have asked me, what do you actually believe in? I talk about Great Spirit because that's mine. That's personal to me. I've found that connection. If you found it, wonderful. Practice it. Practice it. Don't do believe in it because it's going to come and save you because you're afraid. It's got nothing to do with that. The minute you do that, the connection disconnects, because that's not why you are. That's not how it works. I called them out and I wanted to see what they were. A human that did commit a crime. He committed multiple crimes. You could call him Jack the Ripper, actually. And because of those inverted actions that he committed, the anti-life actions, he had the option of essentially being summoned by entities that are non-corporeal, non-present, but they do exist. I'm not saying that demons don't exist. I'm not saying that there is some sort of angelic element that does not exist or exists. It doesn't matter. It's beyond the point. What I'm trying to say to you is that there are more humans worshipped as entities that have died then there are actual entities that are supernatural in their existence and immortal in their presence, because there are forces. There are very few forces such as those that actually exist. So this field that's now additional, like I said, that's quite heavy over the realm in which we exist within, over the system overlay on top of that, of course. Because we need to stack it down, push down on the people. Yeah, people bring themselves. Anyway, is based on a protocol that many are seeking who are working in the black magician magic world, amongst others, because or let's call it the Ministry of Magic, it's better. And that would include everything and anything that wants to go, that's triggered by this desire, is to, like I've said before, forfeit as many souls as possible to align the protocol of the Omega. Now, the Omega, or the Omega point, is a gateway that connects you to a source. A source, not the source, not this source, not Tartar source, a source. And that source is whatever the biggest belief gives, whether it's the belief of Yaldabaoth, whether it's the belief of Baphomet, whether it's the belief of Enoch, whether it's the belief of Metatron, whether it's the belief of having a snake with two heads, the Kabbalah belief, whether it's whatever, Satan, Jesus, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, we're not talking about the man that actually went through the crisis and became fractured, abused and fractured through the crucifixion, so that it would become a program for people to believe in. Okay, because that any abuse creates a fracture in the consciousness. I'm talking about the belief of an entity, and the more they can do things in the name of the entity's name, the egregore that some dead person decided to, I think I'm actually going to be Elvis, incarnate. I'm just going to there's so many of these guys, these fools that want to channel, so I'll just channel through them. Whatever. And so the focus to get to this Omega point, or this gate to a source, is to control then the realm via a metaverse influence. Metaverse, multiverse came to be when, let's call it, all the people on the plane started to believe in something, and suddenly it fractured that glass, that window, that glass. All of those beliefs have basically colored and fractured that glass ceiling, and it essentially has created this stained glass window, that's how you should look at it. That's called the multiverse. There's no out. It's just all colorful patterns of rainbows and unicorn farts. Nothing more. Just broken it down. The frequencies of the belief had literally created it. Because remember, creation happens with the observer. The entity Metatron is probably the most accurate, it's probably the most more supernatural and artificial in its same capacity of what it exists, because it is something that you can't really understand, because it presents itself in many forms, many faces. The same goes for worshipping a death act. and then understanding it to be that it is something to happen constantly. So the blood has to flow all the time. The constant death act has to happen all the time so that you feel better about yourself. Again, the belief is on something that is outside of you as opposed to what is within you. There's a desire to culminate, to accumulate more than 65% of souls within this realm, to tip over the belief, to tip over so that it lies within those who push that energy, so that they can bring that source thing that they believe in, whatever it's called. It can actually play two faces. It can play the Messiah, Jesus, Christian religion thing. It can be Buddha. It can be Saint Germain. It can be Samael. It can be Sabaoth. It can be the Demiurge. It can be the Metatron. It can be whatever. It's one entity that is playing out itself through the beliefs. But you can only get it to play out for you when you forfeit your soul. But I'm talking about people in general that are perpetuating the belief. The world is going to go into this place where there's this one day, you know, if you've watched Judge Dredd, that's the lockdown. And if you've watched Terminator, then that's what's going to happen. So everyone wants to have that belief that it's going to happen, and they feel justified in their beliefs. They feel, you know, I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. So then he takes the knife and he plunges it deeper into his shoulder because I knew it was right, and I'm now the martyr for this whole process. I know people like that. I've known people like that. This is how people believe. I can see it. I can see it, how people are. Then there are others that are pushing this whole agenda, their agendas, by presenting the drive to become better, and, you know, to go and eat cockroaches because then the cockroach can give them alpha male power. You know, that's, like I said, truly we are in the age of delusion and absurdism, because now everything pretty much can go. And so there's this race to get to this omega point because everyone wants to be some sort of god, which again is just yet another human condition, to want to become some sort of godlike entity to control people, because that's the only reason. It doesn't matter what else it is. And there are a lot of people working behind the scenes doing this. They're working every day. They've got secret meditation groups, and they literally send out psychic attacks to people, to the people of the world, to make them believe a certain way, and people fall into it. When you give your soul to something, when you say you love someone and you give your soul to that person, are you nuts? Are you mad? You must be mad to do that. You cannot be that consumed with desire of basic natural existence that you do that. That is why the entire system had shut itself down. Aside from the fact that the Orions came in here, that's what they believe. They believe that you must pledge your everything to it, to them as an empire, so that they are able to control and run the system the way that it is. But it's not even about them, the names. Names are just names of descriptions of entities. The fact is there's death. That is what the system is about. The realm in which you are existing within is fixated on death. And this fixation on death is, like I said, I think it's a warp, misunderstanding, psychological psychosis in desiring to really leave, but you've just conjured up a lot of entities and elements around you so that you can have something to believe in, just to give you a reminder, you know, a mental marker somewhere, a bookmark in your soul journey, so that you'll always remember that. But then there are those that are using it to weaponize it. And like I said, the soul is the circular currency for the currency to take place, the token to pay everything forward. My point is this, and I can say this in any way, the way that I can, but I'm basically trying to explain the bare bones to you, is that the desire to tip the scale over to that source, entity, element, whether it's this way or that way, it's the same. They are exactly the same. Whether it tips over this way or that way, you'll just live it longer or go sooner. Either way, it's gonna happen, because there are so many forces working to try and get to that omega point. Because of that mass, they are able then to overthrow mostly everything else that they want. So there are, let's call it, good guys and bad guys. Even that is a belief system, good and evil, because it's all measured based on Christianity. It's like Satanists who believe in Satan, and they believe in the exact opposite and of Christianity, which is exactly the same. It's just a mirror of one another. The entities are confused. They're confused with the entities that they worship as well, because then, as much as the passion as they have to hate a Christian or hate a Satanist or whatever, it's the same passion of aggression towards one another. So there's no solution for that particular belief. So I started off by saying people give belief to everything, and they forfeit their souls in the process for it, because they believe that they would have X, Y, and Z. Whether it's eternal afterlife in heaven, or whether it's eternal afterlife in this world, in the material world. It's the same thing. There's no difference. These ministry of magicians that are committing all of these atrocious deeds in the name of Beelzebub, whatever, Azazel, or Metatron, or excuse me, Saint Germain. That's the latest one. I mean, not the latest, but that's another one. That's what they seek. There is a belief in something that is dead. People who pass away, like for instance, certain people of cults or whatever, when they pass away, what do you think happened to Manson's spirit, Charles Manson's spirit? For example, I mean, what do you think has happened to it? It's just incarnated back, or it may have decided to, come into the place where it wants to be worshipped. Whatever. People do all kinds of wacky stuff. People don't have the capacity to go towards that existence of what is potential. There's laziness in that involved. There's no interest in it. Yourself. People that you speak to, they look at you as if you're foreign. I mean, people that listen to me think I'm talking not clear enough. Well, I can only speak the certain way that I speak, and that is just the way that it is. That little tip of the pyramid where almost everything that is alive is desirous, drooling with the need to get to that place so that they can control that gateway, so that that gateway can be the control of that entity or that source, so that it can basically continue and control the world. That's what it's all about. They call the gateway to get to that source as the desire to get to the omega point, that where time folds in upon itself, where the observer as a source-like entity can observe the playing out of the realm, and where people just, slavishly giving over their souls to some sort of belief system is just beyond my understanding of why humans do this. Aside from that, I think it is just there's a point of feeling afraid of not being able to know things, or to, you know, like I said, missing the good old days. But it's so warped now that you don't know what it is. It's changed its picture completely. The aspect of that I want to leave with you to think on. We are in crunch time, and the crunch time is to, let's see, the crunch time is to turn the place into Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Either way, red or blue, red or blue, always red or blue, left or right, yes, no, good, bad, always the same program, over and over and over and over. I'm not going to say it was done by design. I'm going to say it became a design, because I know of a former world and worlds beyond that. But the big drive is mostly for that specific purpose, is to get to that omega point, so that the drive is to get control over that entity that is presenting itself as the source. Hence why there's such almost a feverish drive to investigate the near-death experiences. It's absurdly driven to investigate the near-death experiences, to investigate psychedelic findings of OBEs. It's extreme. It's more than it should be. I mean, there's not one thing that doesn't show it. I mean, it's on the most simplest groups of people, where it's the drive to get there, to find, to find that chalice, like that guy that went in, looked for the Holy Grail. Okay, so keep in mind what it is that you focus on. Keep in mind the focus itself. Do you have an intense focus or not? And like I said, if you're not familiar with my work, please go through all my videos. They all have a reason why they are the way they are. And ask me questions. Don't forget, I've got a channel on Odyssey, which is fantastic, because I'm having fun there. I'm putting a lot of material out there called Deviant Deception, the Mind Virus, and I urge you to investigate it with me. In any case, I just wanted to dispel a few things based on the ultimate currency of the human condition, which requires the forfeit of the soul to a belief structure. I'm leaving this with you. We'll talk again. Bye.